Socialists and one Republican discussed the classic book Animal Farm. Let's talk about it, y'all.
Middle America.
What are you people? We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. Actually, what's funny is I wasn't born in this country.
Still an American.
I was born in Jamaica, but
so
yeah.
that makes me a Jamaican citizen and an American, so.
Is that thing hiding in the comments?
I paid my dues. I am Vincent. This is
But Yoshifa.
Yoshi, and that
is
is
Steel Beluga, as you know.
I think Raw is first for
Dorian.
Paul said.
Yeah, Raul. That's
Raul,
Raul.
yeah.
That's Raul. Raul is he's a cool dude. Cool cat. Cool cat.
I need a stronger prescription.
Yeah. Raul is the first one to comment on this one, and
Yeah.
Tasco was
Good audio now? Okay, good.
Okay, so we wanted to give you guys a little behind the scenes peek into how things work at our house. We just got done listening to the book Animal Farm, obviously a classic, which obviously has political and social ramifications to it. Shout out to Christux Gomen. Hello to you. And so, as you can see here,
Twitch.
we got the big homie. Napoleon on the right side there.
The big homie.
The pig.
Spoilers, by the way.
And salam alaikum. Ya ibn Mayata.
I plan on running for president.
Look, okay, so now,
I overshot something.
so you were the first one that read Animal Farm, Beluga. So
Yeah.
what were your initial?
Hi, Overshadow.
What were your original thoughts?
Okay, so funny enough,
I
I got the book idea from an obscure channel called Middle America with Vin and Sori, and I heard the host talking about it, and so I decided to look into it more. And I was like, you know what, this seems like a good idea, because it's very important. There's a culture in the house about educating yourselves and bettering yourself and have a deeper understanding. And I'm already consider myself. I know this is gonna sound mainstream, but I consider myself a fan of history. I like how things piece together and work this way out into the world we're living now. So I decided it'd be a great idea to, and especially since it was written by George Orwell, that's the author of the famous 1984 books. I thought, you know what, this is a great author. It's a classic. The host liked it, and I know him, so let's go and get the book. So I went to my local library and I got the book. And what you said? What were my thoughts about it?
Yeah. So what were your initial thoughts in Animal Farm, or give me your summary of what you think the book is about? And by the way, Johan wanted me to mention specifically, there are going to be spoilers in this review. So there's that. Go ahead.
Okay, what did I think of the book and a summary of what I think the book is? Okay, so I thought the book was honestly masterfully written, and I thought it was great.
Yeah.
What I thought it was about? I thought it was about humanity's tendencies to oppress their fellow being. That's what I thought it was about.
Okay.
So you had the farmers coming out, obviously, and they were oppressing the animals, and then the animals.
So let me lay it out, and Johan jump in here. So it's literally a farm, right?
Yeah.
And the farmers are oppressing the animals, which, I mean,
Slavery.
by definition, right? That's what a farm is. When
oppressing the animals.
if you were to anthropomorphize, that is to say, to attribute a human characteristic to a non-human being.
Like stand on two hind legs.
That's exactly, right? Like,
That's
so
the whole
that's
saying, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
4 legs good, 2 legs bad. So what's happening is you got these farmers, they're making all this capital off the work and the sweat and the bodies and the blood of these animals. And so they're feeling the oppression because animals don't get treated very well, right, in a farm. And so one of the animals, right? So go ahead, introduce who rises up to overcome this oppression.
Okay, so the boar is the very beginning of the book, and he someone said he was akin to Karl Marx, which I think is actually very nice. He was more of the idealist. He didn't actually, actually, no, I'm not gonna say that because I don't know much about Karl Marx, but he was the idealist. He was the person who wrote the Animalism Manifesto, and he laid out the groundwork for that, and so then he dies shortly thereafter.
I do think that Orwell was intending for what was that guy's name?
Major.
Major.
I do believe that Orwell was making a direct correlation.
Oh yeah,
between
because this
Major
is
and Marx.
supposed to be the Russian Revolution, a parody of the Russian Revolution, so to speak. No, it's more of a
Bolshevik.
I forgot the word for it, but it's not exactly a parody. It's supposed to be allegory for the Russian Revolution, but it can also be applied to other things as well. It also fits into other situations as well.
Like for example, the whole Snowball nonsense and the Russiagate nonsense. You know, I can imagine.
Well, what's the Snowball nonsense?
Okay, so what happened was.
And who is Snowball?
I thought you said they already knew this.
Well, there's spoilers, right? A spoiler is a major event that everybody knows about. So what I'm asking you to do right now is tell me about specific characters.
Okay, so Snowball is actually working with Napoleon to spread the message around the whole farm because what Dorian said and the Major there was a night meeting, so not everybody attended. So what Napoleon and Snowball did was they were like kind of like the two.
Look this way toward the camera and the mic. You're looking that way.
They're the two leaders.
Okay, so Major is the ideological
Yep.
leader. He's the one that came up with the ideology of, what do they call it? Animalism. So he's Marx, right?
Yeah.
And then Napoleon is, how would you describe Napoleon?
I can't
AOC.
fit him into like a person, but let me say it this way. Okay, so Orion, you know, so first of all, the reason why you don't see Orion on his videos is because if we let Orion come on, it starts out good, you know, he's all content, he's fine, whatever, and then he starts doing stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how I characterize Napoleon, you know. Starts out good, and then in fact this is probably everybody. He's in a position of power, but his role in the story is basically to be Orion. You know, he starts out good, and then it just starts going all bad. So Orion would be like, if we had like some water, he would be dumping all over the computers, throwing everything onto the floor, breaking stuff. So that's kind of like that analogy is kind of what I would say.
So Napoleon's
role in the story.
So Major is the ideological leader, right? And then Napoleon is like the activator or the activist. So he would be like the Lenin or the Stalin, right? So what happened is Marx has this idea, and Marx's basic idea, and I'm very, very, very young in Marx. I still haven't completely finished Das Kapital yet. But one of his Das Kapital
You haven't finished it yet?
Not yet. It's not that it's long. It's I want to keep rereading it to understand it.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
It's very hard to read.
So like I'm not trying, like he's a very dense writer, as in like he says a lot when he talks. So Marx's basic ideology was that it's basically called conflict theory, and that you can basically tell the story of history as a war between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. Right? The workers,
What exactly is the bourgeoisie?
So the bourgeoisie are what we would call the rich 1%, like Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like extremely rich people who are not working but are profiting off the labor of other people. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, you know, you had that in the feudal system, you have it with serfdom, you obviously had it with slavery. And so Marx's ideology was you could tell the entire story of history, right? By this conflict between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. But the proletariat is always going to outnumber the bourgeoisie by definition.
Yeah.
And so Marx's idea was, hey, if we all united, then these guys wouldn't be able to abuse us anymore because we're all
like forced to vote.
Yeah.
Kind of like kind of.
Did he say anything about the military? Because
shout out to the majority.
In the Russian Revolution, towards the end of it, the military started turning on Nicholas II. So was he saying the workers unite? Was he putting the military under the proletariat?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the major things, especially with Tsar Nicholas, was they were tired of war.
Yeah.
And
they were, forced to shoot their own people on multiple occasions.
Oh, they were?
Yeah. So these guys are tired of war. They're like, yo. And Tsar Nicholas and his family, they're all chilling, living in... Yeah, they're living in all this, ease and comfort, and meanwhile...
It's like the whole,
didn't you go to play in France or something like that?
Is that Trump's... I don't remember what it was, but the whole Trump's Vietnam was
all
something...
The serfs were...
Well, yeah, Trump stayed out of Vietnam, right? Like, the rich generally find ways to get themselves and their kids out of war.
Was
but
there- wait, was there a draft?
Getting their kids out.
There was a draft in
Like,
Vietnam, right?
If they had
Yeah.
nothing to do to start the war,
Oh,
I
so he
don't
was
have a
draft
problem with
dodging?
you
Yeah.
getting your kids out of the war. I don't
Trump
have a
draft
Right. I don't have a problem with somebody getting their kids out of the war. The problem is that when you are the head of a country and you're sending
that was at
other
that time?
people's children to die,
Yeah, at that
but
time.
your children are partying, people are going to have a problem with that.
Yeah, very
Yeah,
bad.
at that
People are gonna
time.
have a serious
I'm saying
problem with
don't go into war, but if there was a draft
Does
that
it?
you weren't that you didn't that you had nothing to do with, then I have no problem with you, keeping your kids from going to the war.
Yeah,
Doesn't
but
the
so
Bible say something about kings went out to war with King David was on the rooftop.
Yeah.
and
yeah,
kings
king,
go out to
yeah,
war.
in the biblical worldview, the king had to lead the army at war.
Okay, but you're saying
And when he didn't, bad things happened.
And
So
the
you're saying that the
people-
president should be
people-
going out to
people
war?
pay for tax.
Yeah, the president should be going out to
Oh, so
war.
you do think we should-
Yes, because if the president had to go out to war, we'd have a lot less wars. You see,
Oh, that's like a chicken.
if the president in the Old Testament, the king and his sons were expected to fight.
we wanted to put that
Like for
leadership in
example,
danger.
Saul and King Jonathan.
So-
Saul and Jonathan, they were out there in the
Did they die
they
in
were
the
fighting.
war?
So you
Yes,
have
but
to
the
say-
point is, if you make the leader have to go out to war, then he's going to be a lot more conservative about choosing to go to war. So, for
I
example,
feel like one of the Russian stars did go to war during this period.
yeah, but not Nicholas.
Yeah, not Nicholas, but one of
Right,
them
so
did.
that's
The
what was
great
going
reformer.
on. You had people at home that were starving, hungry, poor. Then you had people overseas, and you're getting reports that your kids are dead. And then there's our Nicholas chilling out. You see what I'm saying?
Well, you don't-
He's chilling
okay,
out,
so
and
you
his
don't-
kids are
so
chilling
you don't
out.
think the leader should be protected at all?
Well, I think he should be protected in the sense that, Muhammad, when he would go out to fight, Abu Bakr would stay next to him, Umar ibn al-Khattab would stay next to him, and he'd
Yo, why
fight.
can't you have the Secret
But he
Service out in
had,
the
but he
field?
had people protecting him.
Yeah, like the Secret Service, right? Why can't
Correct.
you just have the Secret Service out in the...
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So
What is
Oh,
XPM
and one thing I
saying?
gotta say is that... I think it's
that's
hilarious.
how it used to happen. But Tsar Nicholas and the rest, yeah, go fight, go die, yeah, we'll chill out here. And then finally the people said, oh, okay, and they took, eat the rich, and so that's what happened. So that is
rich.
that. Yeah, that's kind of the phrase, right? Because the rich are consuming everybody, and we're slaves of the rich.
Consuming
And so the
everybody.
idea was, yeah, because the rich are in Marx's world, the bourgeoisie are always consuming the labor of the proletariat. So the proletariat is just there to generate capital and revenue and a certain type of lifestyle for the bourgeoisie. But they're basically consuming the work of the proletariat. So the idea was, okay, flip that, and eat the rich. Stop getting eaten by the rich. You eat the rich because you got the numbers. So in Animal Farm, the farmers are the representatives of the bourgeoisie, right?
Yeah.
These are the guys who are profiting off of people and all the rest of it. Now, and so there was that resentment, and then there was that meeting where Major, the ideological leader, wrote this sort of animalist manifesto, which would be the Communist Manifesto, which was written by the big homie Marx. And so now you've got this conflict between the bourgeoisie represented by the farmers and the proletariat represented by the animals, and led initially by the pig, right? Napoleon. That's the big homie at the bottom right of your screen. Who is your? What were your thought processes about Napoleon when he was first introduced in the book, Johan? I am the socialist, politico-historic. Me and the young fella in the orange shirts are both
I'm
I'm a Democrat.
democratic socialists.
I
I'm a
would say that I'm
Democrat as
progressive
well.
except for abortion.
Zachary
but-
Taylor. Is he the 12th president?
Okay,
Zachary Taylor?
keep going.
So,
What were your thoughts on the piggy?
The piggy.
didn't I say the whole?
Like at the beginning, did you think he was a good guy?
I mean, you already and Dawn had already given some away that he was gonna turn bad, and me and Dawn we watched Attack on Titan, and we've actually got caught up except the last manga. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that some political stuff actually comes up around season 3, and me and Dawn talk about Attack on Titan a lot, and one of the things is that they had overthrown a fascist government. It basically was a more condensed version of Animal Farm.
So what about you? So like for example, was that when you really started getting interested in fascism?
I'm not interested in fascism. I'm interested in
A
political
pinch
theory.
of fascism. Look at that last video.
I'm interested in political theory.
Look at, and you said
Stop
that,
taking that quote out of context.
Okay, so tell me your thoughts, Dorian, about fascism.
I think it's a horrible idea.
But didn't you say yesterday that we
Pinch of
needed a
fascism.
pinch of fascism?
Yeah.
Okay, so explain that.
Anything beyond a pinch is a horrible idea.
Okay, explain to everybody
Okay.
why
I just told you. Okay.
based on
here,
your reading
here,
of the book. Go
here.
ahead.
Based on reading the book or based on history?
Just based on history, go for it.
Okay. I'll give you a wonderful example. Okay, the Missouri Compromise. Right. I see democracy as a compromise between good and evil. The Founding Fathers rightfully understood that if a human had too much power, he would use it to corrupt the entire government and it would fall apart and there'd be revolutions and all blah blah blah. Okay, they rightly thought that. The problem is that it's a compromise. You're saying we could have someone who's really powerful and bring about good very easily, or we could have someone really bad, and eventually everyone will become that bad person, by the way, and then they'll corrupt the entire system and they'll corrupt themselves. I'm simply saying, so
Yeah, but
using
are you
using
saying
that
wait.
in the context of the Missouri Compromise, which was, again, we would admit Missouri in as a slave state, we would admit Maine as a free state. If someone did not compromise, did not take into account the views of the other states, of the other side of the Senate, and they decided to exert their own opinion, and someone decided to overstep their bounds and their authority and outlaw slavery, that would have been nice. And then they would have retreated because, again, I said a pinch. They shouldn't have become supreme leader, just a little overstep of authority a little bit by our traditionally democratic systems. And also, the Supreme Court does this all the time. The Supreme Court constantly, as we will see later, reinterprets the Constitution,
I am planning on
reinterprets the stuff, just like Napoleon did when he was writing down stuff in front of the... I mean, that's literally what they did. They literally add clauses to the Constitution, orally, to progress their own worldviews.
Isn't that
right?
an amendment?
Yeah, so what you're saying, like, for example,
That's fascism.
what you're saying with the Missouri Compromise would be, even though the people democratically voted
Yeah.
for, it's that criticism that democracy is just majority rule or mob rule. That
I hate
the
that
majority of people were not slaves or related to slaves, so they're gonna vote.
There's that aspect too.
In a way, and slaves could never. But here's my contrast to you. So the way that what you're saying is the vote. Obviously, slaves weren't able to vote, so the votes were skewed towards a certain perspective, and it was in a moral perspective. So what you're saying is, we should have a fascist leader who could just go and just give me 2 seconds. We should have a leader who says, yep, I know you guys want that, but you guys are wrong. So I'm going to override this because you guys are wrong. Is that what you're saying?
Something like that. It's just the problem is if that person did do that, how would stop them from continuing to do those situations?
Well, that's what Tasco is challenging you on. He's saying, by what metric do you measure a pinch? Pinch has led to Guantanamo Bay, Julian Assange, Chelsea Manning getting tortured, Edward Snowden getting exiled, Anwar al-Awlaki getting drone bombed without a trial, Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki, his son, 15 years old, getting bombed, etc., etc. And he also didn't mention the Verizon stuff and all the rest of it. So one of the principles, but I see what you're saying, and I'm going to give you a rebuttal because I see what you're saying about the argument. I mean, to a degree, you could even make the same argument for secession, right? That Abraham Lincoln, because they had the right, was it the 19th Amendment? Which amendment? I think it was the 19th Amendment.
I do know that he illegally...
They constitutionally have the right to secession. Secession is written into our Constitution. That's where they say, okay, we're no longer part of America anymore. We're seceding from the Union.
So when Andrew Jackson said... if you succeed, I'll succeed your head from your body.
What did he say?
He said to his vice president,
He said
if
he'd
you
kill
cede
him.
from my union, I will cede your head from the rest of your body.
He said in a creative way that he would
If
kill
you
him.
cede from my union, I will cede your head from your body. Subhanallah.
He said to his vice president.
But if secession is legal, that's murder.
Okay.
That's murder.
So
He just threatened to murder.
okay,
his
so
vice
so
president.
so you're saying, hey, we need a little authoritarianism or fascism to course correct. The problem that Tasco brought up is, well, here's what I'll say. After 9/11, we had the USA Patriot Act, which was a egregious violation of our rights. But they were like, hey, man, we're in the middle of this terrorist thing. You got to give up. And I was all about it. Like, yeah, man, hey, these terrorists, come on. We don't want another 9/11. But now that but they haven't reversed that. It's not like they said, okay, we've got systems in place to where we haven't had a terrorist attack at the scale of 9/11 in 20 years, 2 decades, right? On top of the fact that we're bombing the shit out of all these other countries, right? So it's not like America came back and said, okay, we're now going to give back that power that you guys gave us with the Patriot Act. Well, they were able to observe us. You had even no-knock warrants. You had a lot of shit.
Yeah, but what's so bad about the government? I don't get what's so bad about the whole Fascism thing and them observing us.
Because you're supposed to have the right to privacy. When the government can impede into your personal life, that's a serious problem.
Why?
Because then they can use shit to blackmail you. So, for example, if me and Sori are having some conversation in text, I don't want the government looking into that shit. Right? Or let's say Dorian comes up with another business plan and he messages me and says, hey, father, check this out. And they go, holy shit, that's going to make him $60 million. There's millions of things, right? That's what they call...
Besides that, it's just privacy. We have the right to privacy as Americans.
Yeah. It's just what they call a police state is what they call it. Okay? So, but the reason that people were so willing to give up their rights was, well... the terrorist attack happened.
Don't let a good crisis go to waste.
Correct. So people were saying, look, we got to give up some liberty here for security. That was the exchange.
Like the TSA, for example.
Like the TSA. Like now, like back in the day, the TSA would not grope you.
Like I hear like stories about like people boarding planes with extreme ease. And like this, and I was like, what date is this? Oh, it's pre 9/11. That makes sense. Like, oh, this guy just walked out without taking off his shoes. Like seriously, like no calling anything. Wow.
But they can grope you now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when a kid goes,
they're like feeling you up. All types of crazy.
When a kid goes through, they can molest them.
100%. 100%.
And they're extremely ineffective. We tested them ourselves.
They better do it around my kids.
And they didn't. And they failed most of the tests. They failed to identify weapons.
Correct. So here's my point. Anytime you give the state power, they're not going to give it back to you unless there's some blood on the ground. So when you say we need a pinch of fascism, yes, it solves.
No, I didn't say we need a pinch of fascism. I said a pinch of fascism can do a lot of good things.
A pinch of fascism can do a lot of good things.
About a pinch of fascism.
When you say that,
I don't condone fascism.
The point is the good that the fascism will do in that small instance will not justify the horror that will come after that.
Yeah, I agree.
So let me go back to your Missouri Compromise thing. Okay. I would argue that you don't need a pinch of fascism to solve that problem.
Really?
The way you solve that problem is being consistent with the Declaration of Independence. Because if you were, that would mean...
But how?
Wait. That the slaves would have been able to have a vote. If they were consistent with all men are created equal, endowed by their creator, with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
But how did...
Inalienable means it can't be taken away.
But there's no way to enforce that without having law enforcement. I mean, the Supreme Court... For
what I'm saying is you've got a problem, Missouri Compromise, right? You've got two hypotheticals. You had two hypotheticals. One hypothetical is we can solve that problem with a pinch of fascism. And what I'm saying is... Yes, but the blowback from the pinch of fascism is not worth that. And the other side is to say, we don't need fascism. Actually, what we need is more democracy.
Yes, but...
Because if those black people were able to vote... Correct. But again, we're talking hypothetical here because in reality, X happened. But what I'm saying is, as a political theory, I reject the idea that once in a while we need a little fascism. When you bring up the Missouri Compromise, what I would say to that is, no, fascism would not have solved that problem. More democracy would have actually solved that problem.
But how would you have gotten that democracy?
Okay, that's a separate question, though. That's a separate question. Right now, we're just talking about what kind of governmental theory works, right? Ultimately, in America, we got that by killing 600,000 of our own people. But just across the pond, they were able to solve that problem. That's what you call England, Britain. They call it jumping the pond. But across the pond, they were able to free their slaves without anybody dying.
Yeah, because there was a Christian there.
Well, yes. So that's all I'm saying is that I disagree with you, Ash Tekaros. Well, I'll say this: if you say that Obama was not a fascist, then there's no way we can consistently say Trump is a fascist, because the
Did he say Trump was a fascist?
the things that I'm not saying either way. The things that Obama did were absolutely fascistic. He killed Anwar al-Awlaki, no trial. He killed his son, no trial. These are both U.S. citizens.
Ben Webb's up.
They were both U.S. citizens, Ash. Anwar al-Awlaki and his son Abdul Rahman were both U.S. citizens, one of which was a minor. And then Donald Trump finished it off the first month in office. He sent a DevGru team, and they blew the back of his daughter's head out into the ether. So it's the Verizon thing was absolutely fascistic in police state, and unauthorized murdering of American citizens is absolutely a fascistic move. And then getting the Verizon stuff was absolutely, if the Verizon stuff wasn't fascistic, then nothing is fascistic.
Can you imagine
I think we're going to
Trump,
have to respectfully disagree on that.
Can you imagine if Trump did the Verizon thing?
With a pinch of...
Now here's Amr. What we're talking about is a U.S. citizen. We're not talking about a combatant from another country, Amr. We're talking about killing a U.S. citizen without trial. I am not here to stump for Trump. Yesterday, I said that Trump should be in prison for the rest of his life. So I'm not here stumping for Trump. The problem that's happening, though, in our country is that because we hate Trump so much, we cannot see looming fascism by the establishment. I am not of the belief that Trump and Biden and Obama are opposed to each other. I'm not of that belief. Biden is spending money rebuilding Trump's border wall.
The First Step Act. That was Biden.
The First Step Act was an anomaly because of the pressure of Kanye.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm certain.
But how are you going to get a First Step Act to Trump?
No, I agree. For black people, Biden is much worse for black people than Trump. I agree with you. What I'm talking about, though, is there's an instinct right now in the world where we have to say that Trump is a sum total of all evil, and I think that creates a giant blind spot for us. Yeah. So now all the people that were crying and saying Trump was horrible because of the kids in cages, now because we've got this binary understanding of how things work, now Biden, all these people that were crying and all the rest of it over the kids in the cages for Trump have nothing to say now that Biden's doing it.
Absolutely nothing. And then we got Ted Cruz stunting out there. That's why I say I don't like the word Republican.
Correct.
Because we got Ted Cruz.
Correct.
Chilled. Said it was okay. Listen, say it's okay. Say it's okay. Say it's fine.
That was her with yourself.
Say it's necessary.
Go back where you came from.
Why would you go over there and start demanding for the rights of the Mexicans? Why?
No, Amr, no. There's nothing in the Constitution that says an enemy combatant from a foreign nation has a right to a fair and speedy trial. There's nothing in the Constitution that says that. There is something in the Constitution that says every single American, though, has a right to a feeding and spare trial. And Mr. Awlaki and his son were not given that. That's the problem.
There were Americans that
and so what happens is when you confront Obama for doing that, you then get somebody who says, well, Trump killed the general. What I'm saying is if a U.S. president can kill a U.S. citizen without trial, you're not safe.
That's murder.
And by the way, your name is Amr. You have a Muslim name. So what happened is if it was John Smith and his daughter Brittany Smith who was killed without trial by our president, there would have been a giant outcry. But because it was Awlaki and he was Arab, I mean he's Yemeni.
I didn't even know
it was okay.
I didn't even know he was American.
Correct. And most U.S. citizens don't. That's all I'm saying. I am not saying that Trump is a good guy. I'm not saying that. But the problem is, look, guys, if we don't get wise to what establishment Democrats are doing, they're going to consistently pull the wool over our eyes. And that's one of the big points of Animal Farm. You set up a bad, the farmers are terrible. But then when Napoleon, and we're going to get into this.
Bringing up, you don't want to go back to the Mr. Jones days now, do you?
Correct. So you always have a perpetual boogeyman, and then when you start doing the exact...
That's why they didn't kill him, because I was always thinking, why did they killing him? Why did they let him go off?
Correct.
Kill them. Now I'm saying it's because they have a looming threat.
Correct. So as long as you have this boogeyman that you can justify all the evil of an Obama or a Biden, we're never going to get to a point where we have actual liberty in this country, because the powers that be are consistently running this narrative. The Republicans do it on Fox News. The Democrats do it on CNN. You talk about the stuff that happened at the board. Let me give you another example, Amr. Let me give you another example about this, okay? Everybody was horrified, kids in cages at the border. Trump supporters were saying, well, we're not the ones that built the cages. Obama built the cages.
It's true.
That's a good point. I said, that's true. We need to contend that. You know what people told me? They said, no. You don't need to worry about that. That's whataboutism. And I said, well, I don't care what you call it. We do have to. No. We don't need to talk about that. And now Biden came in. Why is it relevant? It's relevant because Joe Biden was the vice president when Obama built those cages.
So if I made a rule that if I made a law that people can kill each other in the streets for no reason, and they're saying, look at Trump, he's killing people in the streets for no reason, and then I'm like, and then Trump says, well, you guys are the ones that made it legal. I'm like, no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Relax.
The point is, we've all been manipulated by the media into believing that there is a good guy here. There's no good guy here. Obama's not a good guy. He was horrible. He's a murderer and a war criminal.
Well, Trump's a good guy for black people.
Trump gave black people a bone, but he wasn't a good guy. He did horrible things. He did preside. Oh, well, look, some of those kids in cages were darker than you, bro. So what black people was he really good for? You got to think bigger than just how it's going to affect you directly or me directly.
Weren't they just being detained temporarily until they're being...
No, but no one else is fighting for us.
Trump wasn't fighting for us either. It was Kim Kardashian and Kanye West who were fighting for us.
Yeah,
and by the way, when you know who was going after Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, you know who was mocking them while they were trying to get the First Step Act passed?
Oh no.
It was Don Lemon and CNN.
Oh, really?
Correct. Oh, Kanye's what happens when Negroes don't read. That's what they were saying because he was meeting Trump and wearing a MAGA hat. But you know what Kanye did? Kanye got the First Step Act. So say what you want. So that's my point. And besides that, I still don't think Trump's a good guy. He's a horrible guy. Look what he did to us on 1/6, right? He needs to be in prison for the rest of his life. And honestly, I'll tell you the God's honest truth. If I didn't believe in the death penalty, that's a form of treason that absolutely deserves the death penalty. That's how I feel about Trump. But because I know that fact about Trump, it does not nullify the fact that Obama was a war criminal. That doesn't change that. What it means is that George Bush was a war criminal, then Barack Hussein Obama was a war criminal, and then Donald Trump was a war criminal, and now we have Joe Biden who's a war criminal. They're all war criminals. Let's not, like for example, in the
war criminal if they're just straw laws.
Hold on, Dad.
Those laws don't apply to us. They just are supposed to.
Go ahead.
You said
like it looked
that
like
you said that would you vote for Trump?
Would I vote for Trump?
Mm-hmm.
What's the situation?
It's Trump versus Biden.
No.
Why not?
Because they're both horrible.
Okay.
I can't support somebody that is going to perpetuate human suffering on purpose.
I would do that. I'd vote for Bernie.
Let's switch up Bernie for Biden. Would you vote for Bernie?
Yes.
Okay, why?
He's fine
with
abortion.
Because he allows for abortion. He doesn't proactively cause abortions. Bush proactively caused wars. People that weren't
Trump get us out of the forever wars?
People that what forever war did he get us out of?
Hey, he killed ISIS.
Listen,
he did kill ISIS.
He tried to get us out of Afghanistan. I'll give him this. He tried to get us out of Afghanistan, and Pelosi and them stopped it because they didn't want to give him a political victory. So we have people that were there that were supposed to leave that had it extended because of Nancy Pelosi. Thank you very much. But I agree with you. It's very complex who to vote for. I understand that. But my mentality is...
Bernie's killing more human beings than George Bush.
Bernie is not killing anyone.
Bernie's allowing more human
beings. Pro-life Republicans are more responsible for the perpetuation of abortion than Bernie Sanders.
I agree.
That's a fact.
Why?
So what I'm saying is... I want to find a guy whose goal is to limit human suffering. And here's an ironic thing about abortion with Bernie. You had less abortions with Obama than you did with Trump.
Yep.
Why?
And you would have exponentially lower abortions under Bernie. Why? What is the number one motive for abortion according to Planned Parenthood?
Not enough money.
Guttmacher Institute, correct. Financial constraints are the number one reason girls are choosing abortion. So then, we right wingers say you can't have an abortion. Good. Then the girl says, okay, well, I'm dirt poor. I've been abandoned. I'm in the streets. Can you help me? No. And the girl says, well, I've got a $10,000 bill because I had, an aneurysm or whatever, and I've got a $60,000 college debt. You're saying I'm supposed to take care. I have no money to babysit my kids. How am I supposed to generate revenue to take care of this? Hold on. How am I supposed to generate revenue to take care of this kid? And what do we say? Man, fuck you. Figure it out, bitch. That's what we say. So if you say that to somebody, and then somebody else says, man, we can solve this problem. Let's just kill it. Okay. We put her in that situation. So what I'm saying is, you get a guy like Bernie Sanders. You relieve some school loan debt for the girl. You relieve
how is that fair for the colleges?
I don't care what's fair for the colleges.
How are they supposed to turn a profit?
Because how did the colleges turn a profit before they started all this crazy shit? Like, your grandparents were paying like $500 for their entire college tuition.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well then
Yeah.
never mind.
And the colleges, listen, the educational system in America is a complete shell game and bullshit hack. So what happens is they come to your school when you're a kid. They tell you, look, if you don't have a college degree, you're going to suck as a person and you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. The kid goes, holy shit, that's the message that I heard. You guys are hearing different messaging.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I agree that there should be legal restrictions on campaigning in schools.
You have a different understanding of education. You don't believe that you're going to need to go to college. By the time you're old enough to go to college, you're going to have a six-figure or whatever. So you don't even need college in your mind. But all of us were raised to believe that unless you went to college, you were going to be a complete loser. Yeah, so then the colleges came in, and then they made these kids sign on the dotted line.
From the fact that they needed to go to college.
Correct. And then they threatened them. They threatened them with looming poverty.
Yep.
So now you got this girl, she's 20 years old. She's been told her whole life, she's been told her whole life, if you don't finish college, you're going to be poor for your whole life. And then she gets pregnant and there's no help for her. And she's got a $10,000 bill because she had an aneurysm. If Bernie shows up, relieves that school loan debt, takes care of that healthcare situation, and maybe we create another social program where a girl gets set up with an apartment for 12 months. So that she can educate herself and get a job.
On whose dollar?
Okay, now here comes the question. How pro-life are you? That's the question.
Well, he's trying to say this is a little bit too idealist.
No, he's not, because he knows that we can.
Handouts.
There it is. Why is she getting?
If she can't afford it,
because I would rather hand out the money to a girl who made a mistake and got pregnant, if that's going to give that girl a shot to be successful in life,
or if she was
and for her child to have a shot.
What about why wouldn't a 40-hour work week solve that?
Here's another thing about
Dorian.
College.
Hold on for a second. Why wouldn't a 40-hour work week solve that?
No, not our current 40-hour work week. That's insane. If you work 40 hours a week, you're going to have a
because the girl is in
living wage.
She's in school. Yeah, she's in school. She's a girl in college. Those are the people getting the most abortions. Yeah. She's a girl in college. She gets pregnant. I see. She's got all this debt. What is she supposed to do? We're telling her have the baby because that's the right thing to do.
We're not going to have any student debt. You're not going to have any medical debt.
Correct.
You're going to have a living wage. Yeah, so why do you need a free apartment?
What do you mean a free apartment?
You said you're going to have
because you can't live there for free. What I'm saying,
a living wage.
Has
no debts.
Here's what I'm saying for a year. Because Dorian, she's going to school. That means she cannot work full time. She can't go to school and work full time, and then that's not good for her baby either. True. If we're really pro-life, then what we should, as Christians and right wingers, whatever you want to call us, we should have an open checkbook and say, I will pay whatever needs to be paid in order to save this life. If we're truly pro-life, and that's why I'm saying it is a pro-life Republicans that make it so that abortion is as rampant as it actually is.
Republicans are asking how much is it going to cost.
Correct, because we're always saying, oh, no. When it's to preserve the life of a baby and the life of the mom, we say, well, how much is that going to cost? But when it's time to bomb when it's time to bomb the shit out of regular people who've done nothing to us,
so now we have a blank check.
No, now we got a blank check. Correct. So that's why I would vote for Bernie. That's why.
I'd vote for Bernie too.
So I'm just saying that's why.
Yeah, because that's what I was trying to do.
I see the logic there.
Okay.
Have
Let's go back to
trust.
Animal Farm. What were
Yeah.
we talking about again?
We're talking about the lead to the whole Snowball Gate thing. I call
Okay.
it Snowball Gate because they call it Russian Gate.
So who?
That's ironic, actually.
But
Because
no, I appreciate the
Didn't
challenge.
the whole Marxist stuff thing?
Okay, you good?
Isn't Marxist in Russia? So it's.
I'm sorry?
Marxist
Isn't
Russia.
Marxist in Russian?
Yeah.
So it's technically it's Russia Gate.
Yeah.
The whole Snowball Gate. I just found it really funny because.
Okay, so who is Snowball? And remember, the mic's over here, little bro.
Oh, try to talk into the mic.
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean who's Snowball?
Just go ahead.
Oh,
Yes, we're supposed to abstain from premarital sex, but everyone's not a Christian in America, so there's that.
I would say. Well, I'm talking about the whole Snowball Gate
Go
stuff.
ahead, talk about it.
So when you say who is Snowball, I'm saying Wait, Dad, what do you mean who's Snowball? I'm talking
He's
about
asking you
Russian
who
Gate
Who
nonsense?
was he in the story,
It was
little
true.
bro?
Okay. I thought that he was a good leader.
Who did he lead?
He didn't. Well, I mean, it was Napoleon and Snowball who was mostly
Austria?
the leaders before Napoleon.
Marx was German, by the way.
Oh, it was German. Oh, well.
So
So I guess we call it the Deutschland Gate then.
the Deutsch.
Actually, I did learn some German.
Can you
actually,
please just explain who
Duolingo.
Snowball is?
Okay.
Just explain who Snowball is to the people.
Alright.
for
Okay,
God's
so
sake.
Snowball was one of the OGs. He was one that was spreading the word in the morning or in the daytime. So, yeah. So Snowball was like basically like me and Dorian. I would say something and then Dorian would disagree about it. So that's kind of like how Napoleon and Snowball were. And I feel like and Snowball wanted to have the whole Wilma thing was, Snowball's idea. He wanted to make life easier on the farm, and then he ended up getting harassed out of his office when Napoleon took his secret police and sent his secret police on
So
him.
KGB, the
Yeah.
Gestapo,
Which that's
the
And that's-
Brown
it's
shirts.
so hilarious to me that he planned. It's very early in the book when he takes the dogs. He planned to have the secret police.
Yeah, the other thing,
So
he takes the
hilarious.
dogs and their children and brings them up to his school. His brainwashing facility, and starts
It was
to
never- and-
indoctrinate them, cozy up to them, make them trust him, and then after that, he unleashed his
Yeah, the
force on
secret
the world.
police. And the one of the things
Yeah.
I was really like, wow, this is really fascist. When one of the other pigs, he was saying that all the pigs should be like in control. One of the pigs was like, I don't. And then the dog started barking.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. He took the kids and put them in that.
Yeah,
The school.
Yeah.
It's not actual
I
school.
knew that was going to be
He
relevant.
put him in the
because-
attic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put him in the
There
attic.
was a schoolyard built later on, but he put him in the attic at
schoolyard,
first.
and then they, he brainwashed the kids.
Yeah.
Brainwashed the pups, basically.
Yeah,
got-
to
he
be
got- he got a secret
a nationalist, and I'm sure
Got a secret
the
police
honor
out of it.
aspect also, because these were respected dogs. So he gave them nationalism and national honor, and then they gave them personal honor.
Yeah, you know what's interesting when you think about fascism in the public school system. Prior to COVID, when I would say that you guys were homeschooled, I mean, I had this one guy. We almost shot a Middle America episode where the guy was going to call in. He said, "You guys, you're terrible. You're horrible." The number one thing they said was, "You are brainwashing your kids."
What?
And so that was so fascinating to me, especially when you brought that up. They were like, "You are brainwashing your kids." Now, that's anybody
Unavoidable.
that has seen our political debates, whether on camera or at the table,
Ping pong
knows
table.
that we're everybody's allowed to have their own
Yeah.
perspective here. Dorian is a conservative, and he dresses like this, and he's very professional.
Because one time, actually, there was a debacle over it was basically split halfway, whether I should wear a clean shirt or a dirty shirt. And it was basically split halfway, and then we played miniature golf, and then our team name was Dirty Shirts.
The dirty shirts.
Oh my gosh!
The point is, though, it was very fascinating to me when they would say,
I think
"You
he
guys
meant
are homeschooling your
influence.
kids. You're brainwashing them."
How would you not be brainwashing your kids?
Yeah,
and
you would
teaching them?
systemically, federally brainwash kids if they're in public school.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because I said you do realize that what you're saying is the fact that I won't allow my kids to be influenced by the the folks at public school. You're essentially saying that my kids should be brainwashed by the public school instead of me.
Right. It's not the fact. No, the accusation is not the brainwashing. Is that the fact that you're brainwashing them.
You know what there should be a blank check for?
Correct.
Tutors. I think there should be a blank for tutors because a tutor-parent relationship is closer than that of a teacher-parent.
That's true.
So they'd be able to tell them, okay, don't tell my kids this, don't tell my kid. But remember the whole stuff where if you the sex ed stuff in California, where if you skip the gay stuff, they take an entire segment.
Yeah.
You could tell a private tutor, you can skip this, and then they will have no obligation whatsoever to not skip it. And so that would be something I'll have a blank check for.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of issues in public school where there's no parental control.
Yeah.
Like for example,
parents should be influencing their children's ideologies, not the federal government of all things.
A tutor is
The tutor is responsible to the parent, though.
Yeah.
Because the parent is directly cutting the check.
He
Yeah,
is.
so that's what I'm saying.
The state is cutting the check for the teacher.
So he's talking about the tutor. And
Yeah.
the tutor is more personalized and it's more...
Yeah, it's better. Yeah.
Because I understand parents can't, especially with the
Also,
two-job situation.
Since we're talking about school, I'm also still out there. So here I am. I'm watching Ben Shapiro, and he's talking about how he's gonna meet officials at the door with the gun because they're gonna teach his kids stuff.
I have a very
And to
nuanced
me,
perspective.
I was
This is
thinking,
Ben Shapiro?
Yeah.
Well,
the
no,
whole beta versus-
the context though was the idea that the government would come take your kids, but this is this statist idea that your kids don't really belong to you; they belong to the state. That's statism, and I do think when you read Animal Farm, I do think there is a bit of statism. Just as normal Americans. So when you say things like, no, I'm going to educate my own children, and people go, ah, that's statism.
Yep, absolutely.
And one of the weird sort of...
which is a hallmark of communism.
Byproducts of COVID was people saw, oh, I can educate my own kids.
You can school your kids.
Right? Like...
Yeah, so what I was talking about was something with the whole... It's actually Middle America on that... Ben versus Beto. So my thing was, I was thinking, this is very strange because I brought up Attack on Titan. In Attack on Titan, there actually is some sort of brainwashing things going on. It's very political, especially in season 4. And what the father Grisha does, this is spoilers by the way. What the father does, Grisha, is he lets his kid go off to school, and then goes over what's actually the truth when he comes back in the night. So, to me, I was thinking, this is so strange. Ben Shapiro is going to escalate the situation and bring out his gun, putting him, his kid's life, and his kid's father in danger because he can't stay up a little bit later and sit down and explain to them why it's wrong. Instead, he has to mock. He's spending all his time mocking our military and the gay community.
Yeah, and look, there are other factors.
LGBTQ plus.
There are other factors, like for example, race is a major factor. We're in Maine, and I'm not going to send my kids to. I know what
92% white.
I know what it's like to be in those school systems. I was in them.
I unfortunately don't know what it's like.
And I'm not. I would never ever put my black sons in that situation. But there's a whole bunch of situations. School. My main problem with school is that you're not taught how to think. You're taught what to think. Yeah. And so in our context, in our home, like we have strident debates, but people are allowed to come to their own conclusions. We all don't agree on everything, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, like you were defending Joe Biden's Alzheimer's. You're saying that we shouldn't mock him for that.
Yeah, you should.
But he's trying to get us enslaved.
He's not trying to get us enslaved.
Yeah, he is.
Who?
You
Biden?
say that? Yeah, he is.
What do you mean?
The
prison industrial complex. Okay, I'll give you that. That's a form of slavery. I agree. But as Christians, that still doesn't. Yeah, it's a form of turning the other cheek. It doesn't justify mocking somebody for something. But again, that's something you're going to have to work out with God. Okay. So we're back, and so Napoleon kind of takes over. And there's a little bit of a golden age, right? When everybody's like working together, things are going well.
The farm is going great. It's the best that's ever been.
Yeah.
When the humans are in charge.
Yeah.
And the thing is that I really love the system. Is that what you would do is that you would work and you would work and then the much of food that you collected, you got to keep.
Yeah.
The food that you worked for, you got to keep. And I really love that system. I really love it because it means that, let's say, you're not going to eat a whole lot, or the reason I like it is because it puts a lot of responsibility and flexibility on the person. So they have to work paycheck to paycheck, huh?
To each according to his needs, from each according to his ability.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing is what I'm saying is that, like, it gives a lot of flexibility and responsibility because, let's say Molly didn't show up an entire day, right? She was fraternising with the enemy. Then she wouldn't get to have dinner that time unless she snuck in some ice cubes. Which I think Molly, besides the laziness, is a lot like Candace Owens. Would you disagree?
Oh.
So Molly was saying that people were lazy because they didn't want to work in the communist.
No, Molly was the girl who just wanted the
I said
horse. Besides
the
laziness,
laziness, because she was lazy, but she was also going back to her.
She went to the master to get some sugar.
Yeah, the sellout.
Sold herself out.
Yeah. That's Candace Owens for sure.
Except for how lazy Molly is.
And I do want to point out what Stoudman's saying. If anyone's confused about the whole enslavement thing, watch the documentary 13th on Netflix. It goes over the whole thing. Slavery was never fully made illegal in the U.S. That is correct.
Or just look up 13th Amendment.
He's right.
Do you guys consider community service slavery?
So hold on. I just want to address something real quick. So Izzy says, give me an example of how schools teach kids what to think. Well, for example, one, I was told that George Washington and all the founding fathers were great men. I was never told that they were slave owners.
And my mom was taught the same thing too. My stepmom was taught the same thing too.
Yeah, so
he was great in a sense.
But we're taught that we're supposed to be.
No, but what I'm saying is they specifically, on purpose, left out certain aspects of the quote founding fathers.
Like Tucker.
That's what I'm saying. They purposely did that.
Like Tucker and Rachel Maddow.
Like
and all
most
the
white people don't know about Black Wall Street. You don't know about the Black codes. Most people aren't conversing with Jim Crow.
School just a kind of like another version of media, except very extreme. School is just another version of media, except for very extreme.
A curriculum is technically media.
When I say very extreme, I mean by you're teaching kids that this is the truth. Instead,
it's streamlined media.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like,
a curriculum is media.
Yeah, but I'm saying is that like school is basically
book is media.
School is basically like today's media, except they're saying this is fact.
They're presenting as fact at a vulnerable age.
Yeah.
At a vulnerable age, that's important.
And I want to say this about the college debt thing. Listen, kids, minors. I can't get myself an illegal buying contract because I'm too young as to be taken advantage of. And I feel that we should extend that age because it's obvious that these kids in high schools are not old enough, and they're too vulnerable, and they would like to make a legal binding. Well, I can't. Never mind. But
I mean, look, there's a reason every fascist country has outlawed homeschooling. There's a reason for that.
Oh, they have?
Yeah. That's the pattern. There's a reason for that.
Oh.
They know. Like you kids are extremely unique and powerful, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, your kids are so smart." Blah blah blah. Oh, they are. And I do. Every parent thinks their kids are special, and you guys are really special. But
they said it, so.
But the gap between you guys and kids and your peers is astronomical. So to me, the proof is in the pudding. Now I don't think, and a lot of adults. I mean, I've seen you. You were 6 when you twisted that guy up on abortion when you were out in Kennedy Park.
I don't think I was 6.
You were 6 or 7.
Yeah, Joseph.
Maybe 8. Poor guy, trying to give away some watermelon. Little do you know, I don't like watermelon. He just feels, it was a watermelon stand, but I could spin that saying he was racist.
Yo, what is the point of the watermelon stance?
Well, no, I'm not. He had a watermelon stand.
Yeah.
But it's funny because he's giving a black guy some watermelon and telling him to go away, but he had a watermelon stand.
That's
so.
George Carlin once said in a special of his that children should be taught to question everything. They're told. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I'm inclined to agree with it. It's true. He's right.
Outlaw homeschooling and firearms. Yeah. If you outlaw homeschooling, you have to outlaw firearms. They go hand in hand.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you. And I don't know why there's such big demand for Deal Beluga when 2 people say it's the best. Oh no, this is so shit again. But still, 2 comments saying I was the best. I think I should be on Middle America more. Or maybe No, we'll just wait.
What was the saddest moment in Animal Farm for you? I'm asking that question because I think I was there when it happened. That's true, Barry.
It's Boxer because...
Hold on, I'm sorry, little bro. That's true. They left out the truth about Columbus and made us think he was a good guy. That's true.
And then you had these indoctrinated people saying, look at Christopher Columbus. He's such a good guy. Why are you going after Christopher Columbus Day? Little did you know that he was a rapist and a slave owner.
Well, see, and that...
Which, by the way, in ICE, that's a prison, right?
Yeah.
ICE is prison, so they have to do slave labor?
I'm sorry, say it again. ICE?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we have a contract. We have contract with private prisons where ICE takes people and puts them in.
Are people who are in ICE, are they enslaved?
No, ICE is the basically they're like the border cops basically.
No, I'm saying that people that get arrested because of ICE are they?
Yeah, they get put in. They get
so
put in.
It's the same thing. Slavery and also kids were raped too.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
No, you're right, because there are reports of sexual assaults in the cages, both under the Trump administration and the Biden administration, when the sexual assaults were happening by inmates, as well as there were 3 reports against guards. We reported on it last year. Of course, Ted Cruz didn't report on it. He waited until Biden got elected, and then he went down to the border acting like he cared about those kids.
He was just collecting his thoughts, that's all. He was just collecting his thoughts.
Just collecting his thoughts for 4 years. Okay, so the saddest moment in the book for you was what?
I think it was Boxer because it was... I relate to people. I mean, I'm kind of like this myself, you know, like... For example, we're now starting a family exercising thing. We're trying to exercise every day, and I'm trying to outperform everybody else. And a boxer is like that.
Every nation is starting that way.
Your brother's talking.
It's very sad to see... You know, Boxer, he pushed himself to the limits, which is, he pushed himself and he kept trying. It was his 12th birthday. I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, so why is... I actually had to play it back because he was still working. I was like, it's his 12th birthday, because I remember that Napoleon had adjusted that. They never said, they might have, but they never said that he adjusted it up or down. They just said he adjusted it. I don't know if he adjusted up or down, if the age was before, and if I forgot, but I'm just saying, like, he could retire. It was his birthday, and it was time for him to retire, and then he kept going, and then we were so happy for him when he was in the hospital. He was to come back, and, you know, it was because he didn't know the alphabet, you know, and so he was trying to, he was like, okay, well, now I'm going to devote my life to learn the alphabet with the time I have left. And then they sold him away to get killed, which is just what the farmers did. So it's very sad, dark moment, because it's showing the lines being blurred between the pigs, or especially Napoleon, because remember, one of the pigs said, this isn't right, and then the dogs started growling. So it's blurring the lines between especially the pigs, especially Napoleon, and the farmers. At the end, the line is it's no more.
Yeah, that was
like one of the turning points into how fascist everything was going. But actually, after that, if you read the book, that was actually a literal turning point. That's when it turned into strict fascism. So it was it was a turning point, and it was Box. It was so sad.
Yeah, and I
just wanted to finish the alphabet. His dying wish was to finish the alphabet. It's just
sometimes when you're older, you've seen so much tragedy that you miss out on how tragic things are. So when I was watching you, because it was like 2:00 in the morning last night after we did our video, and we're playing ping pong, and as we're playing ping pong, we're listening to Animal Farm, and when that part came, we stopped and listened, and it was just a pall over the room, and then, you know, he was really affected by it. And that's why I love having these discussions with you guys, because you guys have your emotions match the moment, right? Like, and I hope you boys never lose that sensitivity. It's like I say all the time. People are gonna say, "Oh,
it's the internet. It's too many." And I kind of feel like I was feel like that, like, people, especially Generation Z, that's my generation, were born into this constant hearing of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thank God for the Bible that we can say that we can take our emotions and still this is wrong. But there is still some stuff that still gets, like, for example, the whole when George Floyd's daughter came up and she was talking, and I broke down in the shower crying because it was so sad to hear how she was talking about him, and that I knew he was never coming back. It was just, especially the fact that everybody keeps going after George Floyd, calling him a criminal and a thug and all this stuff, and she can't, and yeah. So it's just very, very, and then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm glad, and I hope you boys never lose that sensitivity, because there's a lot of people that suffer uncried for. So I'm glad that somebody acknowledges that those people are valuable. I remember when I told you about we killed those pine nut farmers and you started crying. I've said that so many times to so many people in America, and it's like, yeah, I mean, that's terrible. Everybody goes on with their day. So your emotions are right, and I just want you guys to understand. You're gonna go out there, you're gonna become adults, and you're gonna feel like you're a weirdo, like you're crazy, like, why am I the only one affected by this?
Yeah.
But it's because you haven't been desensitized yet, and I pray that you never are. Okay, so yeah, the boxer part of the book was really the turning point for all the animals,
and
because
it gave a very dark vibe over it. And by the time I finished the book, it felt very dark, you know.
Yeah.
Like they were doing a documentary about Hitler, so it just felt.
What was the scariest moment to you, Dorian, about the book?
Oh.
Dorian, now.
Yeah.
When you took the dogs up into the room.
When
you took the dogs into the room.
That was scary to you.
I was like, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
This is when they're still having a democracy, because they're still having vivid days. They had their their leaders, so they had the Snowball party, and they had the Republic, and they had the Napoleon party, and they had the constituent vote on it. And so, but he still brought the dogs up to the room after he snatched them away after they were born and brought them up to the room while they're still in a democracy.
What's best version of Apple's? What was she saying?
No, don't worry about that.
Oh, okay.
My scariest thing was when it was toward the end, and they were talking about the pigs on their two legs, and then it talked about Napoleon, and they were all like marching and on two legs. That was, for some reason, I remember the first time I read that book and read that specific moment when it's. Because you could tell that Napoleon was changing the whole time.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But then when he comes out on the two legs, like, that is it. He's not hiding it anymore. He is just like the farmers that they fought to overthrow. And obviously, that is what happened. And so to me, like, it doesn't prove... Here's a spicy take. I don't believe that Animal Farm disproves the validity of Marxism. I don't believe that it was a complete slam dunk death knell to Marxism. Mm-hmm. To me, Animal Farm, because at the end of the day, the farmers were still bad. They were not good.
Yeah, and the pigs too.
In the universe of Animal Farm.
That's true. And it was frowned upon. And instead, they looked back and forth from animal to human, human to animal, animal to human.
Yeah.
And they couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah, and so... I think the brilliance of the book is it leaves us with, well, then what the hell is really the problem?
Christ. No,
right?
We need Christ.
Right. So
someone could say democracy, because he did take out Snowball.
Yeah,
That's true.
They did, but we're supposedly in a democracy now, and a lot of us are saying we're not really in a democracy because
Who says that?
We're in a duopoly. You have Joe Biden, Biden, and then you have Trump.
Not even that. No, we have what the DNC wants us to vote for, and then we have the Republican who the Republican people put up. It's the Republican people.
Well, we do vote for the Republican nominee. We do vote for that.
Yeah,
they don't just choose him randomly.
Yeah, the Democrats.
I know, but I'm saying it's the DNC who the DNC wants, unless Tulsi gets in the way, or
Okay.
the Republic, or,
We have a
or
limp
who the
democracy.
Republican people lift up.
That's
So
more what
the-
it is.
Yeah, we have a facade of a democracy.
Well, it's still technically a democracy. It's
not a democracy.
We elect our senators, we elect our governors.
Listen,
we elect our
listen. When you have Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, those are your options.
That's
and you have you have people saying, "I'm going to hold my nose and vote for this person because they're the lesser of two evils." When you have 328 million people and you say to them, "Here's the lesser of two evils. Pick the person that you feel is the least evil." That's not a democracy.
It's not a full democracy. We're not living in a fascist state.
Like if Napoleon, what do you mean you're not living in a fascist state?
We still have freedom to pick our governors, our senators, our congressmen.
What do you mean you have freedom to pick? What do you mean you pick them?
Well, how about the whole?
You vote for them.
Okay.
No,
Let's.
no. The DNC does not picks them for you.
Correct.
The Republican
The president.
Party, the Republicans, they're the ones that do whatever.
Yeah, at the president, at the executive level.
And then-
But at the same time, Dorian, if I want you, right, to eat either rice or chicken, right?
Yeah.
But you want to eat pizza,
Yeah.
right? And I come to you and I say, this is a democracy in this house. I'm going to let you vote. You can either have rice or chicken. Is that a real democracy?
Okay, so what would you call this then? I said it's a limping democracy. What would you call
Well,
this?
what would you call that? You
limping
really
democracy.
want pizza. But I know you really want pizza. But I want chicken or rice. So I purposely only let you choose between chicken and rice. Is that a democracy?
No, not really.
Welcome to America. That's where we live. That's one of the reasons why when these people talk about Russiagate and all the rest of it, I'm like, Russiagate? Really?
Snowballgate.
The Russians were the ones that screwed with our elections. It wasn't the DNC and Hillary and setting up the DNC headquarters in Brooklyn with Hillary's folks. That didn't mess with the elections. It was the Russians. No, I don't think so.
And the thing that it's just what I'm trying to say about the whole, it's the same playbook. They say it's something's happening. Snowball, it's Snowball. They put everything on Snowball. The Snowball gate stuff, you know. And it found out later that it wasn't Snowball. In fact, I remember the first day they went farming, the milk was mysteriously gone. And I thought it must have been the rats or maybe a Snowball. I'm not sure if someone got kicked out at the time. But, no, he didn't. Because it was the first farm day. But I remember thinking it must have been like the rats or something. And then it turns out later, he suddenly slips it in that the pigs had the entire time. And then the pigs use their intelligence to say, we need this. And what are they going to do about it? They could barely read, you know? And
Yeah.
Benjamin was like, he wasn't a pig, right? Benjamin wasn't a pig, right?
I don't think he was. But to the point, like, you know, there was recently and I understood where Anna was coming from. Anna Kasparian was talking about because Bashar al-Assad just recently got reelected. He got like 95% of the vote, and there was only like one other guy that was running against Syria.
Oh,
And so, you know,
wait, Syria has presidents?
yeah, Bashar al-Assad is. We'll talk about that. But I tried to like not talk around Syria around you because I don't want to continue to traumatize you. But so like. And she was saying, this is BS, you know, like this is obviously a rigged election, yada, yada, yada. And Aaron Mate was like, well, there is another guy running. And she's like, that was BS. And I'm like, I get you, Anna. I feel you, bro. Like, Anna, you're right there. But I'm like, how is that different from America?
But isn't
How is it
No
different?
one gets 97% of the vote. That's
Isn't she
ridiculous.
It's okay. They don't
Okay,
get
let's just say-
97.
okay, no.
Wait, hold on. Let Dorian talk. He hasn't talked
Okay, let
about
me see this. What do you think of Singapore? Because I wouldn't say it's a democracy, but they're doing fine. They have
How do
very
you
high-
know they're doing
They have
fine?
very high quality of living.
How do you know they're doing
Because-
fine? What is the emotional state of a person in that
Emotional.
country?
You can't measure that.
Yeah, you can.
How?
Like, for example, are you depressed right now in this moment?
No.
There, we just had a
How did
measurement.
you measure that for an entire country?
Dorian, you can tell. Like, so for example, during the Great Depression, how do you think people were doing?
Bad.
They were probably depressed, right?
Because the economics, you can measure that. You can say, okay, these people have. barely
That's
any
your
money.
flaw. That's your flaw. You, because you're a capitalist and you're an adherent to the religion of capitalism, you think that monetary success equals happiness.
No, I said that when you're poor, you're not happy.
That's also not true. I was poor by American standards in Jamaica, and I was a happy kid.
When you're in poverty, you're not happy.
I was impoverished according to American standards when I was in Jamaica.
American.
We didn't have enough money to get a soccer ball. We had to take the box juices from the orange juice and fill it with dirt. Yeah, if you only have bread to eat in America, you're considered in poverty.
Yeah, but they were in bread lines for hours. They had to get food for themselves.
Who? The Singaporeans?
No, in the Great Depression.
So what? But my point is, you don't have enough empirical data to say that the people in Singapore are doing fine.
The GDP per capita is...
No, again, you're going back to money.
Okay, so how would you measure it then?
We'd have to go down there and get a good cross-section of the people, get a good cross-section of how men are doing, how women are doing, how kids are doing, how the minority groups are doing, how the LGBT groups are doing.
That's a bunch of people. Okay, anyway.
Oh! So then how could we tell how people... only the...
Why are you going into all these subgroups? That's ridiculous.
Because those are the people
how women are doing...
Okay, screw the women.
Why would you separate?
You're paying your feelings. They don't count.
Here, I got a metric for you. I got a metric for you. Okay, 65% of them are okay with the current system. There.
How do you know that? Is there a poll?
There was a poll. I don't know exactly of it, but
how long was the poll done? What was the control group? Do you know any of that stuff?
Wouldn't you say that
I know the poll number.
Wouldn't you say
I'll get back to you on that.
Hold
on. I can get back to the poll number, but I do have a poll number. It's 65% of them are probably.
All I'm saying is,
wouldn't you say that the more people you reach, the more people you talk to, the more valid your poll is? For example, if I go around Maine right now and ask 4 people if they were an animal farm, and I say this is the general state of America, I asked 4 people, 25% of people said that yes, they did with animal farm. Is that true? Is that fair to say? That's the general state of the entire country.
You don't know.
I said we shouldn't go into subgroups. Obviously, subgroups can be depressed. I don't care about the subgroup. If you go into America during the antebellum period, most of the Americans are happy. It's just the Negroes who weren't happy. That's what I'm saying.
The Negroes are Americans.
Just the millions of Negroes that were not happy. Just the millions.
They weren't Americans either, by the way. Because he said Americans, and then he brought the news that they weren't Americans.
They weren't treated like Americans.
Look, I'm not gonna all I'm saying is you have no empirical data to back up what you're saying. No, the only empirical data you have is the money, and we've already established.
I said 65% of people are happy.
Where? What is it? What document can you refer us to?
If I get you the document.
Okay, so you have no document.
No, I do have a poll though. There is a poll.
Okay,
look, go, Jordan, type it in. Go, show us.
And what was the name of the poll? And what was the question that was asked?
Jordan, why don't you go show us?
Are they happy with the? I will get it to you by the end of the day.
Can I ask you another question? I'd ask you if I show up right, I got a gun. And I put a gun to your head and I say, "Are you happy with the way things are going in this house?"
Oh.
Yes, I know there's room for.
You don't listen. You don't know the disposition of a group of people. You don't know the zeitgeist unless you're there. Period. That was a big thing that we were taught in certain training classes. Like, you don't know the disposition of those people.
Okay, so we went to fly down there and see how they're doing.
And live there like how Aaron did.
Yeah.
Is any person there in Singapore able to testify for us? In here?
There's no Singaporean in here. I guarantee you that.
Okay.
Especially for this conversation. So
okay. Oh, what do you think about Singapore though? Back to original question.
I don't have an opinion on Singapore because I don't have enough information about them.
Their political system.
I don't have enough information about them. I can't speak intelligently to it.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
I'm not going to speak about something I haven't researched. You know how I get down.
Oh, look, someone didn't. Okay, how was it in Singapore?
Amr is one guy, and he's lived in Singapore for 2 years.
I'm simply asking him how what his experience was in Singapore.
Okay, Tasco says he's got friends that lived in Singapore. They love it. So look. DL Beluga is going to come back and explain that to us in another thing, but he definitely has some points here. He's definitely getting some support from people here.
100%
so
of
good.
People
so
said.
Congratulations. Okay.
Thank you.
So at the end, I'm not saying you're right though. At the end, Napoleon's on 2 feet and he's fully revealed as a horrible monster, and
he changed the 7 laws so much that at the end of the book, a girl horse that was dying. I can't remember her name starts with M. We'll just call her Mrs. M. Mrs. M asked her friend. She said that she never, her eyes weren't that good, and that she wasn't a good reader to begin with. So there's no way that she was able to read it. But she asked him. She said, "What were the 7 commandments?" Because they knew there was 7 rules, and there was only like 1 rule left. I don't remember what it was. Only like 1 rule left, and it was completely.
And that was Napoleon is always right, right?
Yeah,
that was the rule of
I think
Napoleon.
something like
The dear leader is always right. Chewing gum is illegal in Singapore.
I know it's illegal, but still.
Spitting on the street will get you publicly caned. Literally, there was a guy, there's this white dude. Wait, there's this white American guy. I guess he spit on the ground or something like that. And they literally pulled down the dude's pants in public and caned him.
This is why I'm glad to be in America.
They literally, oh, whoa, no, the people in Singapore are happy. MJ.
Just because it happened to me, they're superior.
Emily.
Okay.
Emily,
yeah.
Sori, wait, you're right. I'm talking to a guest here. Sori is my best friend. She's also my wife and stepmom to these two terrorists.
Okay.
I'm not a terrorist.
Okay, so Singapore has a rule against chewing gum. Okay, that's great. Well, Australia has a rule against not voting. You can get punished for not voting.
I'm waiting for a teleprompter right now.
You can literally be fined for not voting in Australia.
Where, in Australia?
In Australia.
I would rather live in Australia than, because I got friends in it. I got the big homie Dan. I got Tasco.
Oh, I know Dan.
Tasco's right next door. Me and him could go chilling. So we'd be in good shape. Okay, we got.
Oh, it's very clean in Singapore. Yeah, I'm sure Greta Thunberg would be very happy about that.
Okay, we got to land a plane. So now we're going to the final, because it's been an hour.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, these people want to go off and do other stuff.
Let's have a poll.
Freedom to vote means the freedom not to vote. Yeah, exactly.
Let's have a poll.
Okay,
yeah.
so you go first. You got 2 minutes for your final thoughts. Go.
Okay, the gradual, like I said, my right analogy, we let it run on, and it's nice and dandy. It's a good idea until it actually plays out, and then it's a huge mess. It's a disaster. Stuff is broken. Stuff doesn't work anymore. That's what would happen if we let Ryan sit right here on us. That's right. So I would say that's the whole idea of Animal Farm is basically that analogy is that it starts out good and it's a good idea, but when there's fascism going around and people no, it's actually communism. It's for saying that, but one thing is that it starts as a good idea and then it morphs into the same thing again, and the other thing is that communism is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard of. Disgusting ism I've ever heard of, because communism it takes the people that love you and support you so much. It takes that and you work them to death, and then when they're supposed to retire, remember, because in the book it says no one retires. When they're supposed to retire, then you kill them. They're so disgusting, vile to me when they're so loyal to you, and they love you. They would die for you. They take a bullet for you, and you can't even let them live out 3 months to learn the alphabet. That's just disgusting. So
you're not a fan of communism?
No way. It's just
Yeah.
disgusting.
It's pretty bad.
Disgusting. It would take like 10 demons to come up with something so evil.
Whoa. Okay, there you go. Dorian.
That's basically my thought.
My final thoughts on Animal Farm?
Yeah.
Final thoughts on Animal Farm. Okay. Well, I think it just goes to show you that you can have good intentions, but it will always lead to something worse. Like BLM, for example. Like supposedly they had good intentions from the start. I don't believe that, but they had good intentions from the start, supposedly. And then
you're against BLM.
I'm against BLM the same way I'm against Republicans. It's very hard, and it will take a long time to explain.
Nuanced, yeah.
But they supposedly started out good, and then they, then she went and bought for a nonprofit organization CEO bought a $4 million house. So that's pretty much where it's at. Like Napoleon, he had a good idea. He was a good leader. He did go to battle multiple times. He went to battle. He did risk his life.
But if it wasn't for Snowball, they would have died.
And but he just couldn't resist using his power for sinful purposes, which eventually corrupted his republic.
Okay, my final thoughts. One, I'm very proud of you guys for your analysis. I think you guys are making really good connections. I do see, what have you done?
I don't know.
Don't worry about it. You can hear me.
Is there the feedback?
And I do think to some degree, yeah, you could, I mean, it's not as dramatic as the transformation as Napoleon was, but BLM obviously profiting from that. The cyclical, what Johan pointed out, the cyclical nature of these are the bad guys, we rise up in rebellion against them, and then you slowly become what you fought against. I mean, that gets repeated over and over again. For example, the primary issue that made the founding fathers go to war was taxes.
Yep.
But we are taxed at a rate almost quadruple the rate that the founding fathers were. So the thanks to the Democrats. Dorian, we had a Republican in office for 4 years.
He lowered the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act there.
Yeah. Him lowering even though it's a final thought, you're not supposed to interrupt me. That's okay. Him lowering the taxes were still way higher than what the founding fathers went to war for.
I agree.
Right, so it's one of those things where it's like, oh, the Brits are bad for taxing us, and then it turns out that these guys are now taxing us worse than the Brits. So it doesn't just happen in communism, it also happens in capitalism because it's the human story. Something is wrong with us, okay? And the reason that none of these economic systems, I had a talk with one of my friends from Austria, and we came to the conclusion that the premier economic system in the world would be an economic system where everybody's passions get monetized. So I love music, or I like talking about politics, so I'm able to run a YouTube channel where I get compensated for the thing that I love the most, and it's not really work because I love doing it. We talk about Animal Farm anyway. We were going to have this conversation anyway.
That's my idea.
And we're going to continue to have the conversation offline. But that is the best economic system because that would be a system where you would guarantee that people would work hard. Because when you're doing what you love, then you're going to work hard and harder at it. That's why Tom Brady's a maniac. I mean, he's watching film right now. That's why LeBron James is on some horrible treadmill right now doing triples. You know what I mean? So to me, Animal Farm is not really a salvo against communism. To be honest with you, the communists killed it. No, it might have been the intention.
Oh.
But if you could write a book, Animal Farm, about capitalism. I remember one time I was confronted by a caller one time, and I said, communism killed X million people. And he goes, well, how many people did capitalism kill? I didn't think about that. I can name people that capitalism has murdered.
Yeah,
the wars that we have to expand.
The guy that wanted to, he had to decide between getting his diabetes.
Correct, Alex Smith. Alex Smith, rest in peace to the homie. Who, ironically, there was another guy, I forgot his name, God forgive me, but there was another guy who, he aged out of his mother's insurance, diabetic. He was getting married, and so because he was getting murdered on his diabetes meds, he started rationing his insulin so that he could save up to give his girl a decent wedding. And
is that what you said? Doing save up? Is that what you
and
said?
he died. And it was crazy because this kind of reminds me of Boxer. They found him at work.
Oh my gosh.
They found the guy at work.
That's exactly what happened with Boxer.
That's a guy who got murdered by capitalism. Because we didn't, and I'm specifically talking about the evangelical subculture that I came from. Because our first instinct, and I promise you I'm not trying to flame you, our first instinct anytime we talk about any sort of social program is how we're going to pay for it. And we don't realize that there's a human cost, right? So my rubric is I am willing to pay a financial cost. I am not willing to pay a human cost. So a human being to me is more valuable than a dollar. So if I have to spend something, I'm going to spend the dollar. I'm not going to spend that human being. And so communism was designed to address that inequity because of human sinfulness, but it does not take into account your own human sinfulness. See, when we watch all these horrible politicians, and you kind of saw this with the latest jihad with Kyle Kalinske and all these people. I'm watching a video and Kyle Kalinske is killing AOC. killing her. You're a compromiser. You're an idiot. You look terrible, blah, blah, blah. But then when it was time for Kalinske to stand up and man up, he comes and says, well, I was afraid to ask Jimmy Dore that hard question. So let me get this straight, Kyle. AOC is supposed to single-handedly by herself take on Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama. Okay? But you're scared to talk to Jimmy Dore. My point is, we love judging people. We love judging this communism. It's terrible. Capitalism. It's terrible. Socialism. Terrible, terrible, terrible. People always going after Jeff Bezos. If he donated 2% of his salary, he could end world hunger. You know what else could end world hunger? If I gave more. And if you gave more. And if everybody gave more, we could end world hunger. We don't need Jeff Bezos to end world hunger. We can do that.
Also, are you saying that...
It's my final thoughts. So my final thoughts. Go ahead, I'll let you say that, then you gotta let me out. I thought I was gonna say it. Okay, so my point is, we could solve a lot of these problems, but we don't want to because we ourselves are also extremely selfish people. Okay, I don't know Jeff Bezos. I don't have a view into his pocketbook as far as how much charity he's given out, but I have a view into mine. And I know how much I'm giving out. And I know how many homeless people I've driven by and not giving them $1, even though Jesus says, give to whoever asks you without asking for anything in return. So my point is to say, Animal Farm makes me look at myself and say, how am I contributing to an unjust system? How do I benefit from an unjust system? And what can I do to contravene that? So one example would be, I'm a big lover of chocolate. But a lot of our chocolate with Nestle comes from slave labor.
So must not eat chocolate.
We can still eat chocolate.
We can eat chocolate, but we've got to be very wise about how we do it, because we are benefiting from the slavery of other people. Just like white people benefited from slavery in the antebellum South, we are current beneficiaries of overseas slavery with sweatshops and all the rest of it.
People were enslaved. I'm not gonna not call the fire department in wherever Kamala was because those black people.
The fire department.
No, sorry, because that's extreme. What? The fire department is.
That's life and death, right? Yeah. What he's talking about is Kamala Harris would not let those people go in California from prison. Because she didn't want to spend the money on firefighters.
Yes, I'm saying like.
I think it's like she would pay more for chocolate
if only black people were enslaved farmers, I wouldn't stop eating farmed food. Like I don't.
No, but we do need to stop supporting Nestle. Because we know
okay, so not saying
it's not all chocolate, it's specific company. Brands. But I'll tell you honestly though, even if let's say the whole world was generating chocolate via slavery, we should never participate in it. We should try to break that chain. But my point is, you guys gotta let me finish, because we're never gonna finish this thing. My point is, the book makes me take personal accountability for myself. And we love to, on the one hand, we complain about the duopoly, but on the other hand, we love a system where we can blame somebody else for the problems in the world. Right? It's like I say all the time, like people say, oh, Hitler was a Christian. And I go, man, Hitler wasn't no Christian. But that doesn't take Christians off the hook, because it was the German citizens who were Christians that went along with it. We keep going along with this shit. So yes, I blame Christianity for the Holocaust, but not because Hitler's one guy. It's because of regular German citizens who all had Bibles in their homes didn't do the right thing because it was going to cost too much. You see? So Animal Farm, to me, we talk about economics and things like that and Medicare for all. Do I believe that, to Ben Webb's point, individual charity is not going to solve a systemic issue. But until we get to, Ben, listen to me, until we get to the system itself, then you are responsible, if you have anything extra, to help somebody. You see what I'm saying? So until we can get our governors in order, in line, and that's going to take us about 2 decades, honestly, then you have a personal responsibility to make the world around you better. And so I think if all of us adopted that, then we'd be able to come up with an economic system that's just and fair, that's not exploitative, and that can lift everybody up. So that's kind of my take on it.
And that's the only real way we should govern our society, or else it's an endless cycle of horrible communism and fascism.
And horrible capitalism.
Yeah.
And all the other horrible isms that have been around. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Holy smokes, 55 people for an hour and 29 minutes. Holy shit, you guys are amazing. Amazing. Really good job, Dorian and Johan. Shout out to Stout. Shout out to Sentinel, MJ. MJ is Emily J, but I'm just calling you MJ. Bricktown, Ranter Matt, Aztecados, of course, Ben Webb, obviously. Carlos, Duval.
Everyone here, we're going to the comment section so we can see BC.
Yep, and Tasco. Thank you guys so much. We're out of here, guys. Much love. Please help one person this week, right? One person this week. Think about this. 55 people, right? One of us did something for one person tomorrow. That's 55 good actions into the ether.
Give away $10, that's $550.
And Candy Apples and Goth Mom and Barry, Middle Earth, all you people, Elder Juan, all this stuff. Guys, let's I'm dead ass serious, guys. Honestly, like, it's good to talk and all this shit. Honestly, guys, let's all do something tomorrow, please. Seriously, honestly. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America, we are the media. And it's not Napoleon is always right. It's Jesus is always right. Vin out, bitches.
Yoshi out.
Yoshi out.
I'm such a terrible Christian. Holy moly.